Thanks everyone for being here with us today. You should be here for Moving Farm Sales Online, the wide world of web-based platforms, where we're discussing tips and strategies and how to get your farm sales online. My name is Abby Harper. I'm with MSU Extension. With me today, I have my colleague from MSU Extension, Jay Gerhardt. I also have my colleague from Taste the Local Difference, and I should have practiced your name before we started, Alex Palzawig. Did I get close? I got close. And also Kisa Johnson-Mohammed, who's from the University of Michigan Sustainable Darn it. Kisa, take that.
U of M Sustainable Food Systems Initiative.
Thank you. Sustainable Food Systems Initiative. And I should have just skipped to this slide where I have my cheat notes. So it's really great that we have so many partners in the room. We're also doing this in partnership with MIFS. So thanks for being here, MIFS, as well. And we want to get started by just finding out who's in the room a little bit. So if you can enter into the chat your name, your county or part of the state that you're in, and your farm name, if that's applicable to you. And the four of us I know are all over. Jay and Kisa are in the Ann Arbor area in Washtenaw County. I'm in Ingham County, and Alex is way up north in Marquette. So we're from all over. So go ahead and introduce yourself in the chat. We've got Jeremy from over in Kalamazoo. Hey, Jeremy, good to have you. Jen from Ingham County as well. Nice to see you, Jen. And we'll see who else is in the room. Feel free to introduce yourself as you go, but we'll go ahead. And Kisa's from Washtenaw. Nice to have you here too, Kisa. So we are gonna today is part 2 of this webinar series. So we started out a few weeks ago highlighting some low risk options for entering online sales. And that included some simple free tools and electronic payment services. We also had a farmer from Detroit Flight Path Farm who shared about how some of the methods that she chose to use were working at her farm. And we do have a recording of that if you're interested in it. So we'll make sure to send that out with the follow-up notes. Today, we're looking at kind of the next level of this. So we're hoping to explore options for developing web-based platforms to help you better understand how to evaluate different programs in accordance with your farm needs and spirit, and also help you think about navigating setup and turning some of the early challenges of going online into opportunities for stronger record keeping. A lot of what you'll hear us talking about today is maybe some of the difficulties of the first year of setup and the time that it takes and the intention around that. We're not gonna lie, it does. It's not a super kind of like quick and easy if you wanna do it well, but investing the time now will help set yourself up for better record keeping and a kind of smoother flow and tracking down the line. So we're hoping to get you set up for that long-term sustainable online presence. So, and we also have Alex here from Ingham County. Hi, Alex, nice to meet you. If anyone has questions throughout, you can just type them in the chat as well. So I'm gonna pass it off to Kisa.
Okay, hey everyone. Okay, my name is Kisa V. Johnson, and I'm a urban agriculture intern for the University of Michigan Sustainable Food Initiative. So that means I work between 2 urban farms in Detroit. One is Oakland Avenue Urban Farm, as well as the D-Town Farm. I'm also a farmer at the University of Michigan campus farm, so I love farming. But what I do at the urban farm is that I help run their online ordering system. So I've been through these many changes, just like everybody else on the show and on the call. And so we're here to kind of help coach you and share some things that we've learned along the way from being a part of this online ordering system. So the first question is, why are we here? You could put in the chat, like specifically, like why you are here, or you can unmute your mic and you could talk about it with us. Like, why are you here? Nothing for Alex, Jeremy. You want to learn about online systems? You want to learn how to manage them? Okay, well, let's go to the next slide. So why are you here? I don't really know why you're here. I'm assuming that, okay, helping your stakeholders. Thank you, Jeremy. Anybody else? I'm assuming from what we shared that you're here to learn more about moving online. One thing that you need to understand when you're moving online, you need to know a little bit about inventory management. So what does inventory management mean to you in 3 words? Like when you think of the word inventory management, what are some things that pop in your head?
I think of numbers.
Thank you, Alex. I
think of keeping.
What did you say, Jennifer? Did anybody hear Jennifer? Oh man, I wanted to hear what she had to say. Keeping track of what's available. All right. Let's go on to the next slide. Thank you. Jennifer, you could type it in because I want to hear you. What do you think of when you think about online sales? What are 3 things that come to your mind when you see this word? When you see it or hear it? That's okay, Jennifer. You could just type it in. And we'll share going along. When you hear the word online sales, what do you think?
I think I always think of logistics, like how am I gonna get them that product?
Right. I think about money. So yeah, I think about money. All right, let's go to the next slide. Okay, so inventory management. I'm back here again because when you think about online sales, depending on how your farm is set up and what how you have your businesses, how you have your money spread about, whether it's in your farmer's market, whether you do pop-up shops somewhere, or maybe you have a farm stand. You really have to think about how you manage your inventory. So on a scale from 1 to 4, we'd like you to kind of share with us how confident are you with your skills in inventory management.
So you should have a poll that popped up on your screen there. So feel free to chime in.
Yep.
Okay. So far, we've got 1 person who's unconfident. So Alex thinks they're pretty confident.
Yeah.
No?
Anybody else?
All right. So based on our polls, we have 100% of people are unconfident.
All right.
Alex chimed in the chat.
All right, cool. Thank you. Okay, going to the next slide. So when you're doing online sales, is a lot of times we're going to see about money, but it's really more than about money when you're setting up space. You really have to understand how you do inventory currently and implement a system online that works for you. All of these things are about what works for you. We're trying to really look at like, what do you need the system for, and not what the system does, but what do you need it to do. A lot of online platforms require upfront time for long-term ease. You have to put some time in and effort to kind of like explore the systems, ask a lot of questions. Hopefully within this seminar, hopefully within this workshop, we'll give you some tools that you'll be able to use to be able to make those decisions easier, because we've learned from our mistakes and we just kind of want to share it out to everyone. Platforms can grow with you, so take some time to consider options before you're diving in. Like, you really have to look at like, what do I currently need the system now, and what do I want it to do in the future? Also look for, think about ways of like how you could create storytelling connection with your online platform and with your farmer's market or your farm stand or your business. And remember that building community and interaction and resistance, you can all do that online. And when I say the word of resistance, that's more about like self-determining farmers, where they want more of the profit to come back to them. So they're more like self-generating. So think about like the cost of using online and how, and like what's the value that you're getting back in the system as well. Can you go to the next slide? Some other personal questions, before you start getting into more systematic questions when you choose online, you should really see if the platform fits your business personality. Like what's your business personality? Are you one of those people who do things on the fly? Are you very orderly? Are you more so like, okay, I got time right now, like when I'm sitting here and I'm going to do it? Like, you really have to understand, like, what's your culture? What's your personality? If I go online, what customers am I excluding? Like, think about your customers and their needs and what the system can do to help grow that community, help build confidence that, you know, buying online from you is a great thing. And how would I manage my inventory online? Does each system have a mobile app? What type of reporting do I require from myself out the system that I may need to like look at for my accounting purposes? And do I have internet connection at the location of my farm? Like, these are like personal questions where we hope that you kind of like look inward to say, like, what are my needs first before I go out and start looking at systems. And I'm going to pass it on to Alex, who'll get more detailed into what systems we looked at that are out there.
Thanks so much, Kisa. So we will eventually get to some answers, but still a couple more questions for you as you kind of contemplate on how to move forward. So kind of specifically, you know, how do you take those connections or parts of your business that you already have, or maybe ways that you already are connecting with people, and grow upon them and kind of make them a bigger part of your business? So maybe you might already use a payment processor, which is fancy language for something to run credit cards. So, you know, maybe you already use Square, maybe you've used PayPal in the past, and these are options that you could build an online store off of. Maybe you already have a website, and so there's lots of options out there to be able to add e-commerce or a store to your website. And, you know, the website is also a really great way to kind of share your story and share that connection that folks are going to miss when they're not seeing you face to face. Social media, I think a lot of us are going to use social media. Not every farm has a website, but I do see most farms will have a Facebook page or an Instagram account. How can you use the social media, which is, you know, a free thing that's out there for us? How do we use that to kind of promote sales of maybe our online platforms? And you'll see even maybe kind of get some of those sales. And how do you communicate with your customers? And how do you, I mean, obviously one of the answers to that question is face-to-face. So how do you translate that when you're moving online? So I want to call out a huge shout out to the National Young Farmers Coalition, who did some real work and put together a great tool that we're going to share with you, which is going to not only have this table, which I'm going to dive into just quickly, but you're going to see more information on there that's going to help you make those decisions. But to kind of explain this chart, although I'm sure it's a little hard to read, just a reminder, on the left side, you're going to see kind of those specific points that you're going to be looking for your business. So maybe you're really passionate about having some sort of, or your business has a CSA. So obviously that's going to be something you're going to want. Maybe you want to be able to also process credit cards. So kind of use that left side and highlight, or maybe even just circle, you know, those are the things that I need to have. And then you can, on the top is all of these different examples that the National Farmers Coalition went through and kind of picked. And those, using those check marks, you can at least eliminate some of the ones that aren't going to work for you, because it's nice to narrow it down to a few to kind of do more homework on. So go to the next slide. All right. So I'm going to briefly kind of talk about a couple of examples and some just ideas on how you can move online. And then I'll go into showcasing some of those examples. So kind of talking about how you can use social media. Maybe it's the main way that you communicate with folks. And if you're a smaller farm, you might want to just use that as a way. When COVID started, there was a mushroom producer in my area. He had really been looking forward to getting to the farmers market and to start to grow his business, and that was cut short. So he actually started sharing what he had available on his Instagram story. And it was as easy as me replying with that I would take a pound of mushrooms. In his story, he would put like how much they were a pound, so I could just let him know how much I wanted. And in less than 2 messages, we had the details figured out for where I would, or how he would drop them off at my door, and the Venmo information. And that's how I would pay him. So it was contactless payment. And I was able to connect with him and help him kind of, move his product when there was a time where he wasn't able to. Another cool thing that I thought was exciting, a great opportunity that people sees, there was a small Facebook group of local farmers in the UP, and they created this group to kind of share like where their businesses were and how to get to their websites. And it's a really cool collaborative way to use social media as a collective to kind of share how to get food to the consumer, because that's the hardest part, is kind of capturing that consumer base. Maybe you don't have a website or social media, but maybe a newsletter is part of what you do. Maybe you've always used MailChimp, or you've just created your own, email standard. That could be a way that you could send out prices and just what you have available for the week, as well as a phone number to call or just to email back. And so you can really simply use something that you already have established to kind of gain those sales. Moving into kind of starting small and moving larger, both with scale and price, there's options. You might already have a website, which is a great way to tell your story. Maybe you can add on a widget and be able to get some sales happening in that piece. And then the final thing to kind of opt into is maybe you, especially, larger operation, or I think, Kisa, you made a really good point about having wanting to grow into whatever you choose. So maybe you might be smaller now, but you definitely want to keep growing. There's things that you want to do. Maybe opting into a platform that fits your business and a platform that's designed for food sales is the right choice for you. And then the next slide, we just wanted to kind of talk about, we're really focusing on small farms and your direct-to-consumer relationship, but I just wanted to mention some of these cool things that we've been seeing across the state as well. There's a co-op in Northwest Michigan. It's 12 different farmers. They work together to create a CSA box, as well as on their online marketplace, they're able to sell extras to those CSA customers. And then they have also their wholesale products on there. So they've used an online marketplace to serve all the different needs that they've needed. The wholesale was an addition, so now they can interact with those different customers. So you've also see farmers markets, and maybe there's a farmers market in your area, and that's a question we would love to, specifically if you're wondering if there's an online market, maybe that is a farmers market that could be within your area, maybe that's a platform you could opt into and work with. And then the last one is a really cool, the Ipsy area online marketplace. What they've been able to do is they have different groups of farmers and community organizations that have gone together, and it's a really cool collaborative system that they've been able to do. So the big picture here is just how can you maybe, if doing something on your own isn't something that you're able to afford, or maybe there's a lot of benefits to collaborating with those folks around you. And then, before I move on, I'm just going to steal the screen here from you, Abby, to show a couple of these examples. So this is just a quick showing. That's that Farmers Coalition table, but you can see there's lots of information on this, and you can see they actually go into the individual different specifics and costs. So use this table above to kind of narrow it down if you're looking for a platform, and then you can find the costs and the specifics down below. So I wanted to start with the more affordable and free and maybe smaller scale options to show you, and then move into kind of like maybe bigger scale and the more expensive. So this is the first one I'm showing you here is actually just a Google form, which is free to use. This specific example, they actually use it for their free choice CSA, but I thought it really shows how you could even do an order form for sales. So here they kind of talk about up above and have their specifics. You could have information on when to order by and where to pick up. You always want to make sure you're capturing information like the name and the phone number. But down below, they've just got some great pictures, and you're able to choose if you'd want one. So this is a really great way. It's going to take a little bit of work to get this form created, but once you have it created, it's a template that you can use moving forward. So it can be sent in an email. You could share it on your Facebook page. So that's an option. Another option here, this is a farm in the Upper Peninsula that sends out, they use their already existing MailChimp that they had before this to send out, first, of course, a little newsletter about the farm and what's been going on. But then here they have all of their different prices. And up here in the UP, we just do it over the phone. So they just have folks call in their orders by a certain day. And that way they can also talk about delivery options. And I believe they just take cash, or they accept Venmo payments and things like that as well. So kind of moving next to, I've got this first example. So nurturing our seeds. This is a website. So you might already have this website, or they might have created this website but this is a really great example on how you can have some of these products listed on your site. And then as you can see here on their menu page, you get to learn their story. You can contact them and learn more about them. I chose this first one. It's a WordPress site, so you could use that. Both these widget examples are around the same cost. Wix is about 30, where WordPress is about 45 for these e-commerce. But I chose this one in particular just because I love this idea of a food basket. You have to remember, like we're talking about with inventory management, that you're also going to have to create all these products. And maybe you don't necessarily want to have all these different product options, but being able to have a food basket option on your website as a way to get rid of excess, the surplus of the season and things like that. So I just really love this example because I love just purchasing a food basket and getting to be creative with the things. This next one so that first one was WordPress. This next one, they used Wix. I'm almost positive. I couldn't find the logo, but I use Wix myself on some of the other websites. So this is, as you can see, they've got all these different great products, the photos to go with them. I really liked, they've got how the pricing is on here. This, growing fast. So you're able to tell not just a story about the farm here on their website, but they can tell you a little bit of story about all the different products. And so this would be adding that widget or like an app to an already existing site. The last couple are going back to those platforms that we talked about from the National Young Farmers Coalition. So this first one, I believe, is Barn to Door. Let me see on the bottom here. Yeah, Barn to Door and Gray's Cart have been ones that I feel like, although not necessarily only, but really, I think, work well for meat producers. As you can see, they've got their photos here. I really like this because I can kind of look at different cuts and things like that. So again, that kind of next step, if you've got a lot of product and you want to be able to list these different types. The next one here, so these folks do a really good job. This is going to be Green Wagon Farm. I'd like to point out on their online store, which is built into their website as well, they actually use Shopify. So it's them using more of like an e-commerce platform that's already created. But I just love, they do a really great job at kind of outlining the specifics and the details and the different things that folks need to know when they're ordering online before they even get down to the store. And as you can see, they do a great job too of, I'm sure that they probably have this is a larger staffed farm. They have, I think, 100 or more CSAs involved. So there's a lot of folks working. So you can tell they've got a system down for their photos and things like that too. And then the last one, just a quick showcase of what more of those collaborative efforts could look like. So this example is Local Food Marketplace. Oh, and I do want to mention, we do not endorse any specific platforms today, but I do want to mention that Taste Local Difference is in a partnership with Local Food Marketplace. But today we're here to just help you find what works best for your business. But here you can see we've got these different great organizations, Growing Hope, the farm at St. Joe's, and Zilke Farm Kitchen, as well as many different producers who have gotten together and they've put together this marketplace, which allows folks to order from multiple different producers in this collaborative effort, which is really cool. But that being said, all of these examples that I have showed you are going to be examples that are going to be a lot of work to get started, not necessarily those social media ones that we talked about, but as you have to start listing those products, it's a lot of top-end heavy work. But remember that once you've done that work, you'll have it in the years going forward. And that being said, kind of after looking at those examples, we're going to have Jay talk about what's happening behind them all.
Thanks, Alex. Hi, everyone. So back when COVID hit, I got a lot of phone calls from farmers being like, I need to get my stuff online. How do I do this? And I was like, I don't know how you do this. Let me find out how you do this. And so I was able to spend a lot of time doing some research on what's going on behind the scenes with all of this. And I think knowing this information is critical for making those right decisions that we keep asking you. Like we keep asking you questions about what do you already have going on, and knowing how the back end works will help you answer those questions. So I'm here to pull the curtain back on what all this online stuff is happening in the background. So if you can see the slide here, we have a customer. We start with the customer. They're gonna go to an online marketplace. Take Amazon is an online marketplace. The examples that Alex just showed, those are all the online platforms that the customer goes to. They're gonna shop, they're gonna build their cart, and then at the end, there's gonna be a whole different screen for your payment processing. And this, in the world of online market world, is called your payment gateway. It's not your POS system, it is a different thing. Payment gateways, there's like hundreds of companies that run these things. Likely, your online marketplace that you choose is gonna be already connected to a payment gateway. So for example, local food marketplace, I believe, has authorized.net as their payment gateway. So it's not something you necessarily have to choose, but it is something to be aware of, that like this is a step in this process. The customer enters their credit card information into that payment gateway. That talks to their issuing bank, Visa, MasterCard, which talks to their bank, which says, yes, this person has enough funds. They may buy $50 of kohlrabi. You then, that payment is then processed into your business owner's merchant account. And that merchant account is just a holding place. A lot of times we don't see this or even know that it exists. If you have Square or PayPal, that is integrated into that system. And so you're probably not even aware that that's happening. If you have a system that you have set up yourself, you have likely had to either choose a merchant account yourself. And again, there are hundreds out there and they all say that they're the best. Or your bank might already be working with a merchant account and they'll just naturally say, we have a contract with so-and-so, they're the merchant account. You're like, cool, great, no more questions. That money then gets into your bank and you get to buy more inventory. Excellent. So that's what happens in the background. You can go to the next slide, Abby. The thing that we as businesses need to be super duper aware of is all the charges that are going to happen with all of these steps. So that $3 bunch of carrots that you're selling at the farmer's market, your take home at the end of the day is going to be less than $3 because there's going to be all these charges on top of that order. So the customer doesn't have a charge on that, but thank you, Abby, for putting a $ over the customer. Abby is the creator of this fantastic infographic, so shout out to her. But there is a charge with the online marketplace. For example, local food marketplace will charge a one-time setup fee. So that's all that technical assistance that they're going to provide to get you set up. And then they're going to charge you monthly after that. There are some programs which allow you to get free startup, and then they'll charge you per transaction after that. And again, the name of the game is that there's just 100 options out there. And that National Young Farmers Coalition guide is fantastic because it lists all of them with their prices. So definitely check that out. We'll make sure we get the link into the chat. So then you have your payment gateway. And for those of you who've been in business, we kind of know about this charge. So a lot of farmers will have a Square account for running transactions at farmers markets per se. And so they kind of know that these charges are going to come off of their credit card. Those two charges, and this is just an example, that 2.9% plus 30 cents is really calculating the risk of that transaction. So the reason that it's often higher for when you have to put in the numbers yourself is because there's more risk and more opportunities for messing it up when you do that versus when you swipe a card. So for example, Square has a 2.6% risk and then a 10 cents business charge for any dipped card or swiped card. But for the online transaction, which again is different than those POS systems, when you do it with a payment gateway, that payment processor, that's 2.9% and 30 cents. So which is the number listed here. So again, something to really be aware of. What is that charge and what's it going to be? Do you add it on to your cost? Do you add it on to the price that you list your carrots? I might. I mean, I think most people are very happy to pay the credit card fee, knowing that it's a convenience for them. So then that all goes to the merchant account. And lo and behold, they also take money from you. Again, sometimes we don't see this. Sometimes this is built in to that fee. I believe that charge that Square has is the merchant fee as well. But if you're setting this all up yourself, just know that your bank might be charging you for that merchant account per transaction. Or if you have a separate merchant account, they'll be charging you per transaction. So something to keep in mind. I just want to say that I keep using Square, and that is because I think about 50% of the farmers that I work with use Square. And that's because they've had Square, they've had it for their farmers markets. It's also just super easy to like buy it, get started. It's a very user-friendly platform. It also, Square has like an e-commerce suite, which means that they have the online platform, that marketplace that the customer is going to go to, built in already. So you just upgrade to that. It's just very user-friendly. For those farmers who were scared about doing this, that was, I found a lot of them moved in that direction and had a pretty okay time making it happen. So that's what's going on in the background.
Okay. So wrapping up, here's some things that you should consider. Like, where do you want to spend your time? Like, what do you want to spend your time doing? What tools do you already have access to? Where do you see your business in 5 years? Who can you collaborate with? Figuring out what system works best for you. And how does your method help connect your community to food, to their food? Right? Next slide. Also remember, transitioning to online sales is always an upfront investment of time and money. Anything that you do online, there's always choreograph that you have to do in order to prepare for that moment in that space online. And the more upfront work that you do, the more smoothly you'll be able to adapt to the changes that you need to make when you're using an online system. And put yourself in your customer's shoes when deciding, like, is this an accessible space? Does it make sense to you when you're using it? Is it intuitive? Is there places for imagery or storytelling that I can bring my customers into? And also, this is an opportunity to diversify your business, to get new customers, open up new space, sell new things. So I look at this all, even though there's some challenges, there's many, many more opportunities for you when you're going online. All right. And now we'll open it up for Q&A.
So our emails are up there too, if anyone has questions afterwards. I know we got a couple people on, so if you have any questions, you're welcome to either open up your mic or type them in the chat. We also, Jay, do you want to put that link in the chat real quick? MSU Extension, as part of our federal funding, is required to collect demographic information about the people that we serve. It's a voluntary survey that Jay will put the link to in the chat, and it just helps us better understand what parts of the state we're reaching, what populations we're reaching, and to be able to assess at the end of the year whether or not we did a good job reaching all of Michigan citizens or whether we still have some work to do. So that would help us out a lot if you have a moment to take that. The link is in the chat. And otherwise, if anyone has questions, now's your time. We're here to Here to answer any.